Welcome to In the Edit Discussion Room. I am your host, Aret Todd, and sitting with me is my co-host,
Anthony Campbell.
This evening we have Mr. Emmanuel Fitzroy with us. He is a naturopathic specialist for over 10 years. Mr. Fitzroy, how are you doing?
Excellent, sir.
It's nice to have you, Mr. Fitzroy,
Thank you.
on this program.
Very nice. So, we are aware, are we,
Yes.
of the Cathrine Hall community in Montego Bay?
Yes, we are.
Right. So, today, our team went into the Cathrine Hall community and we interviewed a few of the residents there, and we were told that there is an issue that's a pressing one. There is a sewage issue, and it is affecting everyone in the community, from the shop owners, persons who are
A vending outside of schools.
right, the vendors. We have schools, we have different types of other institutions, even nursing homes that are being affected by this issue.
Not to mention the residents who live in the community.
Right.
All right, so we're here in Cathrine Hall and we're speaking to a few persons who live in the community. We're here at the Howard Cooke Primary School, and what we have noticed is that there's a sewage system that is running at the back of the school. It is very stagnant, very stink, and it's breeding mosquitoes. And we want to know how you persons that are living in the community are fearing or are facing, or what you're dealing with this sewage water.
Well, the sewage water in Cathrine Hall, I live near the sewage water, and more time we cannot take the scent of it. It stinks, and when it stinks, it smells yucky. Sometimes we have to lock up window from 3 o'clock, because we don't want the mosquito to come inside, because we don't know if anything will wrong. And I appreciate the people who come and ask about it for us, if something can be done towards it. I will be very, very, very glad if something could be done towards this sewage water, because it's affecting everybody who live here. Every soul who live here. We call till we tired, and nobody can just come and nobody do anything. Yeah.
So you're saying that you've been to the authorities and spoken about it already?
Yes, already. I go then tell you that water commission response to it, and they tell me that the man named Scarlett, and I go and I spoke to him and he come and say more get it clean. But they're not cleaning it. They only get like 3 months to go and the gun for help clean it. That's all.
So what do you have to say, sir, about this whole situation of the stagnant sewage running in the community?
Okay, you know, I passed by the water from the sewage place. I asked the guy, you can't fix it. He said to me, if was one of the MP them live here, either get the parts come from America, and so when them be choppy, it break out for a couple of months, it come back again, and it smells so bad. This is in good condition now. When they pay $1 million to clean this drain, they don't clean it, they don't clear it. And the culvert right down there now, you need to clean that the water can run out. So the mosquito they live on it. If you look at it, throw a stone in there, you see the mosquito hive out of it. So I love them to get it done proper the way, man. Once we drown there, you don't get no problem. But the guy told me the parts where I want, it's in America and they would don't want to buy it. Yeah.
Yes. All right, I want to thank you very much for your input. You see, this is going to be posted and you're going to hear from somebody about this very shortly. All right, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day now. All right. Sir?
About 3 picking up on the lane of dengue right now.
So you're saying that in the community of Cathrine Hall, 3 children in the community have dengue fever?
Right now, my brethren just left go and check on his son. Me and him out last night, I be a vomit, picking around there vomit.
And there has been no checks from the health authorities about this?
No, I don't see them, no. From a day, I don't see them, no. The last time I sunfest and then they clean it and throw oil in it. I don't see them from that.
So they throw the oil in there because of sunfest, but it wasn't really clean. The oil was thrown to stop the mosquito breeding.
Then they clean it out, man. Then go through and chop down it side.
But it is always coming back.
Just that they normally don't, they not do nothing more than that.
Only on Sunfest time they come.
Big event that keep us to then come clean up around it.
Would you like to say anything, madam?
Because about 3 children right now in the community right now have the dengue fever and nobody come. Last week we see some help people pass and they only pass by to check whatever. We complain about the rats out on the main road. A lot of rats, if you ever see them at the get dump. There are 2 schools. You have DRB, the little basic school, and you have Howard Cooke right there.
Yes.
And if you ever see the big rat, them at the dumps, and they're not doing nothing about it.
Right.
And then coming around and something. Right now, last week, my cousin around there, our son spent 3 days in the hospital with it, and nobody come, nobody's whatever. And she have to up and down at the hospital asking for things when she go then send her there, so leave the blood test she go back for. Then she have to up and down, she don't know where to turn. And they just lackadaisical, they're not doing nothing for Cathrine Hall. See there, if the banking high up, we cut it.
Yes.
Even since last week, we pay man to cut it. Yeah. If it light, people call fire truck, feel out. But it's still bad, we have to do it ourselves.
Yes.
Because it's really awful and they're at school.
So what you're saying is that the children walk through the bushes near to this sewage that is dangerous to their health and they could even fall in it.
The bush is so high you can't see the kids them, so even if the stocky them come from underneath the bridge and take with them, we can't do nothing because we don't know, because the bush is so high, the water is stagnant. They have teeth coming up, especially when it's Sunfest time. That's why they cut the bushes Sunfest time, because they know the thieves are coming up to rob them.
Right.
But otherwise from Sunfest, or unless we block road or do something, nobody no come down here. So, and we say we have much school in this vicinity. We have one around here.
And have church.
We have 2 basic schools. We have 1 primary school. So that's 4 schools in like walking this. And we have a nursing home just as well.
Yes.
So that's like 5 different institutions, and mainly of elderly persons and young kids. And nobody no business with them.
So would you say that you have been neglected by the Health Association of Jamaica?
Of course. Not until there is an epidemic or something, then them go come down here. Or when an election, you will see them come and them cut little grass and them do this and them that and then walk. Otherwise from that, we don't see Malawi, we don't see nobody. Nobody no business with down here.
Alright, I want to thank you very much for your comments, you see. And we're going to make sure that this gets out so that the government can know that people are irate about these situations. Right.
Alright, so my question is it a case where the government or those who are in charge of the community, are they not aware of it, or it's a case where it's not important to them to get it rectified?
Well, my thing is that when I watched the video as it was posted, it showed me that it is such an issue where it would be very hard not to see that there's open sewage there. There's a catchment area there and it is open and the water is there stagnant. So maybe the government doesn't go there in the community at all, or maybe the health organization does not go there. But on the other hand, we see where the community members are saying that they have lived in the community and have faced the adverse effects from the sewage. Right, and they have also said that they've spoken to the relevant authorities and asked for help and assistance, and there's no assistance or help given.
Right. So is this a financial issue where the ministers or the ones who are in charge are not able to afford to fix it? Or is it that there are other factors that are creating this block?
Well, for me, I don't know if it is a financial issue, because I am not a part of the Jamaican government. I would need one who is from the house of or from the political arena
right.
Then to speak to that. But I know that Jamaican people pay taxes. That is what I know, and I know that as a citizen of any country, you have the right to a clean environment.
You are entitled.
You are entitled to that. You are entitled to a safe environment when it comes to health. So if you are living in a community and it is unsafe and it is unhealthy, then the question is, what is the government doing? I mean, whenever it's time for voting, people are voting. So, I mean, if people can go out and support the government, then the government must do its rightful duty to support the people who support them when they ask for this support. What are your thoughts on the whole matter, Mr. Fitzroy?
Well, first, I must say thanks for having me on your program. And, you know, I am so grateful to be here with you. Right. As I've listened, yes, I realize that there are a number of issues, right? It seemed to me as if it's a deliberate neglect on the people or the residents in that community. Because since it has been there for quite a while, and it has been reported to the relevant authorities, and as the report says that it's only at a certain time whether this big festival is going to take place or something there. It's a deliberate neglect because they know that it is there. So I believe that the people are treated unfairly and it should be taken up in hand for the health of the community.
Okay, in my view, I don't believe it is that the government does not care, but it may be very difficult for them to be tending to so many issues all over Jamaica. And especially this one, there has not been any cases of any deaths or any outbreaks that would have sounded a loud alarm that would make them take quick action. So
what you're trying to say is that unless there's death and unless there's something to sound an alarm, that action shouldn't be taken prior to these type of things happening. I mean, you're trying to tell me that unless somebody dies, the government doesn't have a right to protect the people. I cannot accept that.
not that they don't have a right, but it gives them that push to get it done.
What should give them the push is the fact that they are here to serve. They are put in a position by the people, for the people, to protect and serve the people. Now, if the people are calling out for help, then it is the duty of the government to come in quickly and assist the people that they are depending on to put them back in power when the term or the time comes around for voting. You see, I always find that governments in Jamaica, or the government in Jamaica, and probably other places around the world, they neglect people. They neglect the same people who they depend upon when they want votes. I don't understand how could a person have raw sewage running in the back of their yard for years. The stench, the odor, it is stink, it is stagnant, the flies, the mosquitoes are breeding up in there, and there's no one there to step out and say that there's something wrong about it. The health organization in Jamaica has a duty to the Jamaican people. Why aren't they stepping up to the plate and fixing, remedying the problem? As I watched the video, and what one of the persons in the interview said that they come around and they will throw oil in the stagnant waters to stop the breeding of the mosquitoes. Is that a solution, or is that a temporary fix?
I hear what you're saying, but just to pull your mind to another perspective, to me it seems that the community has survived thus far, and there has not been any major issues. And even these cases of dengue, how can we assume that it has been triggered from the sewage that runs to the back of the community? Could we assume that it's a flower pot on the veranda or in the yard, a car tire? There are other things that could have caused that. So I don't think we really have any major concerns there. So, Mr. Fitzroy, could you give me your thoughts on that, what I just expressed just now, in terms of not seeing it as that much of a deal then, because they've somewhat survived through it. They've learned how to maneuver themselves, so they have adjusted to it, really. So it's a norm for them to have the community in that state.
As I said before, I really see great negligence. And it doesn't matter how much the people were able to survive for these whatever amount of years they're living there, right? And as your co-host said, the government are put in place by the people, for the people. and they should not wait until an epidemic breaks out, because that could be more trouble for them, right? Because, for example, the report says that there are also schools. Now these children come by there and they contract anything. Now I also heard in the footage there that about 3 or so cases of dengue are there. You refer to flower pot or something of the sort. Now the most outstanding and the most seen thing is going to be ascribed to it, right? And the most outstanding thing is the raw sewage running in the back of the people's yard or even the back of the school premises, right? So I know that more or less this could be possible the real cause of the dengue that these people are facing in the community at the time.
I mean, for me, it goes to show that the health department is not doing their job. I mean, look at it this way. If there are 2 or 3 cases of dengue going to the hospital, then these cases should have been investigated. These cases should have been investigated, and the community from which the persons who have dengue should have been noted. Okay. And persons from the health department should have been sent to further investigate what could have been the cause of these children contracting such a horrible disease. What has happened? I heard in the interview the man said that even last night one of the children were vomiting, all vomiting up on himself, and the father had to rush him to the hospital. Now, my thing is that where are the relevant authorities? They care. And they show, you know what I noticed, that when it comes to certain issues, the care that they claim to have is so publicized, and it is so amped up at a specific point when they want to use it for their benefit. I know that nothing that the government does, and this is for me, that nothing that, this is my opinion, in my opinion, nothing that the government does is without an ulterior motive. So when they put up something and make it seem as if, oh, we're doing this and oh, we care, they have a motive. They're going to use it when it comes to elections. They're going to use it when they are on their campaign. They're going to use it to boost themselves so that they can win a seat, so that they can have another year, another term, so that they can be in the political arena for another term. But otherwise than that, the people are suffering. The people are in deadly situations, but the government doesn't show up at that point in time. And that's just my opinion.
Right. But how much can they take on, There's so much to do, and there's so many issues around the area. So how much can they do?
They can do a lot. If it is a tourism area, I'm sure that the tourists would be benefiting and feeling. Just drive out to where the tourists stay and see how well trimmed their lawns are, and see how, if there are rats running up and down in their dumpsters.
Oh,
and
yes,
rats. And see if the streets in their community are in their area that they're staying isn't well taken care of. There are no bumps on their roads. The government of Jamaica is actually showing the people that they do not really care about them. They care more for the tourists than they do for them. I mean, are tourists' lives more important than the lives of the locals?
Question though, what happened? Why it is that they have to resort to having this flow of sewage in the back?
Well, one of the residents stated that it was a pipe that they said that was damaged, right? And because of the damaged pipe, the water kept running, and it was not fixed. They were told that the part to fix it is not local, it is in America or something of the sort. That is yet to be to be investigated to know if it is so or not.
Right.
But the community members said that that was what was said to them, and that they could not get the part, some financial issue or of some sort. But Jamaica is not as poor as they make it out to be. There are people paying tax. These people are paying taxes. Whatever you buy in Jamaica, you pay tax. And for the love of truth, right? If we're dealing with the health of people, right? And if we're dealing with taxes and we're dealing with finances, a healthy workforce is a wealthy workforce.
Correct, I agree.
So if we're going to deal with the situation that the government doesn't have any money, and we're going to say because they don't have any money, they're not going to get the part to fix this sewage issue, right? We're going to have more sick people in our country and more money to be spent to take care of these people from the health sector, which drains the economy more. So what is it?
So
what
prevention is better than cure, is what you're saying.
Always. Wasn't it said that a stitch in time saves 9?
Correct.
Right. So we have to be proactive. We have to step forward before the epidemic to solve the issues so that we don't have an outbreak of something that we cannot control.
A point that I wanted to make earlier on, I realized that persons tend to not stand up for their rights, and persons tend to not know what their rights are. So we tend to live, especially in Jamaica, I can speak strongly about that, because I am in the communities and I hear the opinions of persons and I see how they live. So we tend to just accept things as they are, and we don't necessarily know that we can have a voice and our voice can be heard. So we just take it as we get it then. So we have a sort of nonchalant or kind of a laid-back attitude as it relates to issues that concerns us, even our health. So we will not shout or block the roads and create a scene because the sewage is there and has been there for years. However, if somebody was to die, or if there was supposed to be a major accident where an elderly, who's a special needs person, maybe walking with a stick, fall over in the thing and contract some major disease or virus, then it would be a major cause for concern.
I can tell you that as you voiced your opinion, you are so correct. And when I look at it also, question, is it a political strategy that is used or will be used for political mileage? It is sad if it is so, because as Mr. Campbell says, that a healthy community provides a healthy workforce. So if the government see the people as their main resource, they should really take into consideration all these little things, because there's another little Jamaican proverb that we're used to: simple trash, blind eye. And we need to bear these little things in mind and work on things as they occur, and don't leave them to gain political mileage. Those are not ways to treat people. You need to make sure that you treat people and show people that you care for them. And as I said earlier, a proactive approach should take to your health, right? Not a reactive approach. Because you see, there's another little phrase, and I will always continue to use these: you cannot stop the horse when you've gone through the gate. It's not so easy to stop any at all.
You're correct. You're correct about that. It's full time. We live. It's 2019 now. We're heading into 2020, and it is full time that people recognize that what the governments of the world and the government of Jamaica is doing. We can no longer live off those primitive mindsets, right? We have to be intelligent, and we have to rise up now in our way of thinking. The government need to understand that political mileage cannot be used when it comes to the health and the lives of people. It's a no-no. It's definitely a no-no, that you cannot do that. And we have to recognize also that, as you said, health is a proactive thing.
Yes.
It's not a reactive thing. Right? You don't wait until it's too late or wait until something happens to try to fix it. You try to get things in the right place and balance that you don't have to fix anything, right? So for me, the government needs to look into this Cathrine Hall issue.
Yes, ma'am.
They need to send the relevant authorities to go down there or go to Cathrine Hall and look at the schools that are around in the area.
Right.
I mean, the sewage is running right beside the school. The mosquitoes, I am sure, are affecting the students. The mosquitoes are affecting the residents. 3 cases of dengue fever has been reported from the area. The persons in the area that live in the area cannot take the smell. Because of the sewage, water is there, so the grass is growing high, and they're saying that they're concerned about thieves that hide in the grass and prey upon people who walk in that area. And they have also said that children walk in that area. So if thieves and children are walking in the same area, we can be assured that molestation of our children can take place in that area. We're sure that they can be robbed. We're sure that our little girls can be taken and brought somewhere and raped. Anything is possible. It's high time that the government spend time looking at issues and fixing issues and stop waiting until it's too late.
If I should come in at this time and say something again, I realize I heard also, I saw in the broadcast that we watched here, that even shopkeepers had to close their businesses. Now, just to step out from that community for a little time, I noticed that this is a trend, that the government, even so much so, they're not so much careful as to even the conditions that the small vendors do their businesses. When you go into the marketplaces, you see the same thing. Sorry. You go into the marketplaces, you see the same thing. You go on the street because the people has nowhere else to sell, right? Because sometimes they make up markets, as they say they do, but people don't go into these markets. They are in so much remote areas and remote places. It seems as if they're going to have to make some drive-through markets where people sit down at their stall and can sell their goods, right? So the people who operate even on the street, when you look on the street, I believe also that you have sewage water on the streets as well.
I'm glad you brought up that, because it is something that I've recognized, and there was also a video that showed our team on the street showing the Montego Bay Market. Now, the entrance to the Montego Bay Market, at one of the entrances, there's a little area where sewage passes, and there's stagnant water. It stinks. And it's right beside the goods that persons are about to sell for persons to consume. Now, how could you have open sewage, stagnant waters, right at the gate in the entrance of the market where people are entering to buy food? Who is looking out for the health of the Jamaican people?
Seems as if no one cares.
It seems as if no one cares. And these are the things that I am trying to find out. Why has the government not done anything about it? These things are not things that are hidden there in plain sight. We look at the road in that same area. There are so many restaurants and there are so many bakeries along that area. And right in front of all of these bakeries and restaurants are the same stagnant, mosquito breeding, fly breeding waters. And people are eating food from these restaurants. You have to step over this mucky, murky water to go and buy a plate of food.
I tell you something more, Mr. Campbell. I happened to pass over by the free zone just this afternoon, and in the same condition, because it seemed as if that the area I went to is where persons would gather, especially in the daytime, to sell those persons that work in the free zone, right? I understand that some of the free zone workers, because they can't afford to be late, even breakfast, they're having at their workplace. They would go there and they would buy their breakfast and they would eat and wait until their time to go or report to work. Now, when I look, the place is stagnant, the water, the place is stink. I saw a big rat running in those murky water there. So everywhere is the same thing. Is there anyone to see the needs of the people, the health condition of the people, right? And these people say they are government, they take it upon themselves to say they are our leaders, they are who they are, and probably even want to think that they're our fathers because they want to dictate the things we do, the things we say, the way we operate, right? Can't they see that we need to be helped as far as our health is concerned?
I realize that persons do not take responsibility, and I'm not sure if it's ignorance or if it's that they just lack knowledge of what it is that they need to do as a community. The way you dispose of your garbage needs to be looked into. Persons, they entertain rats in front of their homes, and they entertain rats at the dumpsters also. I know that, for instance, in the towns, persons will just be walking and they throw things on the road corners. They'll throw things over in the bushes. They'll throw things all over the place. I was looking in the sewage as well, and I'm seeing styrofoam boxes and box juice boxes and plastic bags and all sorts of other things. So people in the community are neglecting the fact that they have a responsibility to keep the place clean. And by not keeping it clean, then it becomes a breeding grounds for these rodents and these other pathogens then.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. But the fact of the matter is that as much as persons need to take responsibility for their own actions, we have to recognize that the government has also the responsibility of educating persons, right? The fact is that not everyone understands the importance of not throwing garbage on the road in the sewage, because we are coming from a culture that we were taught that it is okay to throw garbage on the road. And that is a fact. Everybody knows that. You're walking in the street, there were no garbage bins and pans in strategic locations for garbage to be thrown in a lot of the cities and communities in Jamaica. There are no recycling bins almost anywhere in Montego Bay. Recycling doesn't take place in Montego Bay. It seems like recycling doesn't take place anywhere in Jamaica. And we know the adverse effects of plastics to our oceans, to our rivers, and to our ecosystem. We know it. We know that it is destroying our world.
Yes.
We know that the ocean is laden with plastic bottles and plastic bags. The government has the right to educate the people on these matters. I have not seen methods being taken to educate people.
And do you believe that people really care though?
Do I believe that people? I believe that once people know, they will care. I believe that knowledge is power. And I believe that you become powerful when you have knowledge and use it.
I was about to point out that part. I'm glad that you said use it, because to know is one thing, but to execute is the other.
Yes, but once people know, they will execute. But if they don't know, they won't execute. And we can stand here sit here with the mind of saying, well, if they don't know, if they know, then they're still going to do the same. We don't know that. So let us get the information. Let's get the information to them so that we will know what they can do. And then once we get the information to them, we can start prosecuting people for polluting our environment. But you can't prosecute people based on nothing. They have no knowledge of what is happening. They have no garbage bins to dispose their garbage of properly. Do you notice how the country's garbage is disposed of? Do you notice how the country's garbage is taken care of? I mean, I've been in communities where garbage will be in the garbage bins for weeks and stink and they're breeding up flies and rodents, and the government doesn't step in and say we have to make a difference in this. And that's a community where people live. We know that diseases are bred in these areas, and we have seen where the government has not taken the initiative then to make sure that our sewage system, our garbage disposal system is set up and rectified and dealt with in a right manner. There's no way that a person can have garbage in their rubbish bin, in their garbage bin outside, waiting for the garbage truck to come for weeks upon weeks, and it is not coming. So much so that the entire community stinks. And I have seen this with my own eyes.
You are so correct, Mr. Campbell. And I must also say this. as independent personnels right now, not taking on any side with anything politically, religiously, or anything. Now, I myself have seen some things over my years, right? I'm way up in my 60s now, and I've seen things that are unjust. People are treated unjustly, since I'm around. And I tell you, the same thing continues. I only hope that these persons who have been tricked, especially with these politicians, really understand what they're undergoing and try to pull themselves out of it. Because, for example, I noticed, right, I was living in a particular community, and I noticed that whenever a particular side is in leading or in authority, the garbage would move fast, and whenever another side is in, the garbage stays. So I'm wondering if these things are meted out to private contractors or it's the government directly. It makes me wonder.
Right.
So these are some things, and there's another area also. You talk about being educated, right? Sometimes when persons are taught things, it needs reinforcement as well.
Right.
So persons, even at home, you don't just teach the children and send them home to the parents. You get the parents as well in and teach the parent that when they go home with the children, they can reinforce.
Very nice.
And it continues.
It's very important what you just said a while ago, because parents have the duty to reinforce what children are taught where disposing of garbage is concerned. But a lot of these parents themselves need reinforcement. So
Positive reinforcement.
need positive reinforcement. So we're at the point where who is going to train the trainers? Or those who should be trainers?
So should we initiate that?
The relevant authorities that need to do this, which is the Health Organization of Jamaica, should educate the people and
So are
should
they the parent figure?
well, they are put in the position. They're placed in the position to ensure and secure the welfare of the people.
Right.
Right. So if that is the position that they're placed in, they must be proactive.
Right.
And that is their purpose. And they must work well to ensure that the people are educated and that the rules must be enforced at the end of the day.
Right.
But you cannot implement rules, and I think that is why Jamaica has become a lawless society, because persons are not really taught, but rules are put in place. And how can you enforce something on a person without them being properly taught? So it seems at the end of the day that people are being forced against their will to accept something that they see as irrelevant.
Right.
And because they see it as irrelevant, they rebel. That is the society we live in. That is why the police have a hard time, and that is why those that have the knowledge of what should be done have a hard time, because the people aren't taught, but rules are being enforced, and people see the rules irrelevant, so they fight against the same rules that are put in place to protect them. And sometimes the same rules that are put in place to manipulate them.
You're so right, Mr. Campbell. Yes, man, you're so right. Because these are some things, I often say to folks that I would speak to from time to time, day to day. I would say to them that I've watched the news over and over during my lifetime. All I can see is the same news. There's no new news.
Right.
The news is just the same thing.
Understand.
So I'm not even interested.
Cyclical, you call that.
Yes.
Cyclical.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. So, you see, the people need to come to their senses and come to one understanding that they are not going to be treated any way different, right? They are just going to be treated the same way because the so-called authorities just keep them deprived, right? Just to make something, because they said one thing that man lacks is memory. You don't remember what you had gone through a few years ago, and someone comes up with the same promise to you, and you just buy into it, and you just go into it headlong, and the same thing happens again. So the persons around, the community members and people need to understand and need to pull themselves out of this slum once and for all.
Right. Very important. That is very important. So it seems like we have to become the teachers of the people.
Correct.
Here at In the Edit. We find that persons don't really understand that they should not throw garbage on the road. But I would say to persons that even if you are carrying with you a piece of garbage and you recognize that there's no garbage bin, based on the poor effort of the government to implement these things in our country, just carry it with you to your location until you find proper area to dispose it.
Yes,
Do not throw it on the road, do not throw it in the gutters, do not throw it in the rivers, and definitely don't throw it in the ocean.
Right.
If we pollute the earth, then we're polluting our own selves. And if we can destroy the earth, then definitely we're destroying our own selves. So let us be mindful of what we do with our
rubbish or garbage, and let us dispose of it properly. But to the government, to the government, I say, they should be mindful of how they handle the garbage of the country. They should be mindful and know that proper disposal areas must be put in place so that persons can get rid of rubbish. We need people working in the streets to remove these rubbish bins. Remember that Montego Bay is a densely populated city, you know. So if you have one garbage bin every mile or every half mile,
that's not enough.
That is not enough. Certainly not enough for the amount of persons that are there.
Right.
By the time an hour passes, that garbage bin will be saturated.
Well loaded.
Right. And who's going to empty it in the hour? Who's watching to make sure that it is emptied regularly?
Well, these are some things that the government really needs to look into.
Right.
And if they fail to do so, which it is to be done,
right,
we will have to initiate that.
Definitely. Yes. The government also needs to go into the marketplaces, and the relevant authorities need to go into the marketplaces and get rid of the stagnant water, the flies and the mosquitoes that are breeding up in the market. There's no way that we can have a marketplace that in the entrance of it there is stagnant sewage. That is something that the health authorities in Jamaica need to look at. There's no way that we can have restaurants and bakeries and places where people go to get food. In front of these places, at their entrance, is raw sewage, open, stagnant, sitting there breeding mosquitoes and flies, rodents. Where are the health persons that go around and check to know what is happening in the country? Or are they too busy doing other things, irrelevant things?
And as you said that, Mr. Campbell, I can recall also that there are times in my life, and as you know, I'm a person who I believe I socialize well, and as I move around, and especially in the town areas, I've never gone into a town that I could recommend to say this is a clean town.
That is horrible.
Yes, I've never gone into a town.
In Jamaica?
Yes, in Jamaica.
Well, I can tell you that I've been in places around the world.
Yes.
I've been in Europe. I've been in places in Europe like the Netherlands.
Yes.
I've been in places like in Europe and other places, Germany. And I've seen with my own eyes cities that are immaculate.
So it's not impossible.
It is not impossible.
Right.
And cities with more people than Jamaica, and cities that are clean, well kept by the government of these countries.
Right.
Because they've educated their people.
Definitely.
And they have put in the work
Yes.
to make sure that their cities are clean. I think if they can do it, we can also do it.
Of course.
And we don't have to do it with a political motive in mind.
Right.
We just do it because we know that it is the right thing to do,
Right.
and we are creating a safe haven
Right.
for our children and our children's children.
Powerful discussion. I am really glad that we're here having this sort of discourse, and it's really giving insight into how matters like these can be curtailed, and also shedding light on examples like Europe and how they handle themselves. Though Jamaica is a third world country, not because we are,
means that we should continue the way
Yes.
we are.
I think that's a poor excuse. And I don't mean to butt in, but I think that is very poor excuse that we're a third world country. What does that mean, third world?
Means that we don't have much resources, we can't afford to do as the others do.
Yes, it means that we don't have enough resources. But I think the greatest resource is the human mind. And I think when it is well used, we don't need a lot of what they say we need. The fact of the matter is, if the human mind is well used, we will find creative ways of getting rid of simple things like our rubbish. We will find creative ways of cleaning our drains and our gutters. We will certainly not have raw sewage running in the back of a school, in front of our market where we buy our food, in front of the restaurants where we buy and sit and eat our food, where the stink smell of the sewage is rising up in front of the chicken and the beef and whatever else we're consuming, and the mosquitoes are eating and sucking away at our blood, giving us dengue and all other type of diseases. There's no way that a mind that is working properly will be comfortable in a situation like this. So our first resource is being misused. Our main resource is being misused. And we have been misguided to think that third world means something other than we don't have certain resources. Physically. But mentally, we have all resources. Aren't resources made by men?
Of course.
And where do these resources come from? Doesn't it come from the mind of men?
Of course, the mind of men.
So if the mind of men can create resources that make us into third world countries because we don't have them, then our minds can create things that can be used to facilitate certain type of growth in our own country.
Yes, man. Of course it is.
No country just came out of the blue and became first world country. It was because of hard work and because of the people have had a mindset. And the government worked with the people to make the country into what it is. What is our government doing?
Because, for example, if we can excel in other areas of life, sports and all of these things, why can't we excel in sanitation as well?
Thank you very much.
Because of the attention that's given to these things and because of how important they are.
That is what.
So once importance is placed on a thing, it will be helped.
Exactly. That is what I'm saying. So no importance is placed upon the health of a baby. I mean, look at the Montego Bay Hospital, the St. James Hospital.
Had to be closed down.
It had to be closed down because of what?
Neglect.
Toxic mold.
Yes.
Mold. Now look at that. You're going into the hospital to be helped. But when you go into the hospital for help,
you're coming out more sick.
You're coming out worse than you went in. Because we know that mold is toxic, and we know the damage that mold can cause, from cancer to tumors to all types of things that mold can do to you, to respiratory system. Now we're going in the hospital with asthma, going in with asthma and coming out with pneumonia, or coming out in a hearse. Because they're definitely coming out worse. Imagine that.
Poetic.
Just imagine that.
Yes.
We need to work on these things.
Yes,
so as you said, Mr. Todd, importance needs to be placed on health.
Yes, because there's a little common saying that we need all to take our health in our hands, because our health is our wealth.
Right.
Yes.
And unless you don't believe that, well, you can wait until you're unhealthy and you die, and let's see how wealthy you can be at that point in time. I certainly don't want to wait on that time to take care of my health. I want to take care of it now, because I know that my life is what I have to use to gain wealth, financial wealth. I do hope this is a call to the relevant authorities to take time out to see the things that are real issues and deal with the real issues, and stop dealing with petty issues and stop looking away while the people of Jamaica suffer. Because at the end of the day, they will know who has caused the great suffering, and there will be a price to pay.
Correct.
And of a truth, we must be educated as a people, as a nation. We need to know what it is that is important to us as a community, and we need to tend to those things that are important to us as a community. The little things, they matter because they do add up after a while, and they cause catastrophic disasters We implore the relevant authorities, we implore the government, we implore the ministries in various departments to listen to our voices and really take action so that persons do not suffer in the way that they suffer, and the quality of their lives is not as it is. But we should help communities so that those living in those communities
Can improve
in all areas and lead healthy, sound lives. And
I don't mean to butt in on your final statements, but this is something, because when it hits me, I have to say it. This is something that is very important to me, and I think our next discussion should be based on something like this. Why are ghettos for hundreds of years or over 100 years? You'll have a ghetto that is a ghetto for 100 years, for 50 years, for 60 years, for 80 years.
Because nothing has changed, so it's a cycle.
That is what
No one breaks the cycle.
Right.
No one changes the pattern of their thinking, so it remains the same.
So you're telling me that what I'm saying is for 100 years, the mindset of the people in that community has not changed. And those that are leading,
the influencers
of that community, their mindset, it has not changed for 100 years. So that is why ghettos remain ghettos. That is why poverty remains, and that is why a certain mindset remains in our country, because there are those that benefit, believe it or not, from that type of mindset. Yes. But that will be a topic for another day and in the edit.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for your time, and thank you for your thoughts on the matter regarding the community of Cathrine Hall.
Great being with you, and thank you too.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, man, it was excellent.
Yes.
All right.
So, for In the Edit, I am Todd.
And I am Anthony Campbell.
Good evening.